Our story begins in the Canadian wilderness. The forest, to be specific. A place of unspoiled beauty and splendor. It is the spring of 1951. The Mapleton family is happy to welcome a cute little bud to the family. But this was no ordinary bud. Leaves from all around commented on how perfectly buddy this little bud was. Sure enough, this cute little bud would become an adorable addition to the Mapleton family foliage. They would name him Leaf, after his great-great-grandfather, a pioneer in Canadian maples. Little Leafy, as his parents called him, was a good little boy, and he lived a very happy childhood with his family. He was also very level-headed, despite knowing how adorable he was. His aunts made sure to remind him of that fact regularly.
"Oh, look at you. Each time I see you, just cute and cuter. I just want to pinch the maple syrup right out of you."
Needless to say, Leaf was very popular with the girls at school.
"Hey, look, he's walking this way. Hi, Leaf. Hi, Leaf. Hi, Leaf."
Good morning, girls. As adorable as he was, things would only get better for little Leafy. By the time he had reached adolescence, young Mapleton had developed into the perfect little maple leaf. That slight red tinge and rugged look of the true Canadian wilderness. Leaf's parents knew that big things were in store for him, but that he needed more than just family and schoolgirls supporting him. So Leaf's parents contacted an agent, Okie McBarkton, agent to all the biggest flora in Hollywood. Okie had represented the Plant and Little Shop of Horrors and Tarzan's Vines, just to name a few. Okie and Leaf hit it off immediately, and within weeks, Okie had landed Leaf a photo shoot. While there were some phone calls from Canadian Geographic and Horticulturalist Weekly, Leafy didn't hit his big break until the age of 13. In the late fall of 1964, Leaf received a letter that would change his life forever. Leaf Mapleton came home in the fall of 1964 to see that he had received a letter from the Canadian government. Leaf read it excitedly and discovered that Prime Minister Lester B. Pearson, along with the rest of Parliament, had voted and selected him to be the new symbol to represent this great country. They loved his photo shoot and wanted to use one of his images on the new Canadian flag. The Mapleton family was blown away. Well, figuratively, of course. They agreed to a contract with the Canadian government, and on February 15th, 1965, Leaf Mapleton's image was hoisted to the top of the flagpole on Parliament Hill. A legend was born. Things couldn't have been happier for Leaf and his family. Naturally, Leaf was paid quite well for his photo, and Okie had brokered a deal that saw Leaf receive royalties from every Canadian flag sold. Not only was Mapleton now the most recognized Leaf in history, but he was filthy stinking rich. Unfortunately, far too often money changes people. As a teen star, Leaf's parents were in control of his money, but by the time he was 19, Leaf was spending the money like it grew on trees, which for him it kinda did. Leaf got into the hard life, hanging out with a rough crew. Leaf spent most of his time getting stoned with his new friends. Mr. and Mrs. Mapleton were concerned and confronted their son. Like we've already said, money changes people, and leaves too. Leaf was not the sweet little child he had once been. He refused his parents' help, and Mr. Mapleton had no other choice than to tell Leaf to fall off the tree. Leaf didn't react well. "I'm the rich one. I don't need you anymore. If anything, you're holding me back. I hope you both go to mulch." Sadly, this would be the last the Maplesons ever heard from their son. Leaf continued along the dark path he had been on, spending money frivolously, taking cash baths. Having left home, he set up his own party central in the sticks with some friends. What's worse, Leaf had moved on from just getting stoned, and Leaf began living a darker, more dangerous life, experimenting with needles. He continued to live this wild party life until one fateful night in July 1972. Hosting his annual Canada Day luau, Leaf had moved the party from the sticks into a local backyard. The music was pounding, the drinks were flying, and no one seemed to notice the strange noise that had been growing closer until it was too late. Yes, the terrible Husqvarna slaughter of 1972. Many of us remember it well. It's so sad to see such a promising life cut so short. Leif Mapleson would die at the age of 21. If there is but one lesson we can take from this, it was put ever so bluntly, yet poetically, by Notorious B.I.G. in his homage to the Mapleson. Mo money, mo problems.